Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1335B, and today's date is July 18th, 2017, and the title of the episode is New Report Concludes the U.S. Empire is Collapsing. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, it looks like the Republican plan to push forward this new health care bill, well, it completely failed, and there is no repeal of Obamacare. Now Trump is out there saying, let Obamacare fail, and it's going to fail. And once again, we need to remember something very, very important here. This new health care bill that they were pushing, they had, 5, 6, 7 years to create, and they created the same thing as Obamacare? I mean, really think about this for a second. I mean, all they did was copy it, rename certain parts, took this out, that out, and they tried to pass it off as something incredible. And it should have failed. And once again, Obamacare is going to fail, and people are going to see, well, look what happened. That system did not make it. So let it fail. Let it completely be wiped out, because we know right now there's not enough funds to bail out the insurance companies. This is why they were trying to bring in $70 billion more dollars. And we need to understand how we will know when they come up with a good health care plan. It's very simple. And this is how you'll know it is the best thing since sliced bread. You don't need to read it. You don't need to look into it. You don't need to have some type of an analysis. All you need to know is one thing. When the Senate, when the House, when the President, the Vice President, all the staffers, when they all take it and drop what they have, it's incredible. That's how you will know that this is good for the people. Otherwise, everything else is complete junk. It's a waste of time. So when they push something forward and every single one of them drops what they have because it's better than what they have, then you know every single American is going to love it. That's it. That's all you have to know. It's that simple. Now, what's very interesting is that there was a new study out there. This was released by the Commonwealth Fund, and it found that the U.S., despite spending more money per capita than any other country on the planet, the United States has the worst healthcare system in the developed world. Now, the Commonwealth Fund focused on evaluating 5 main areas of the healthcare system, including care process, access, administrative efficiency, equity, healthcare outcomes, and analyzed 72 indicators within those fields. Of the 11 countries included in the study, the U.S. ranked dead last. And the U.S. spends the most. I mean, this is unbelievable. They're trying to convince us that we have an incredible healthcare system. And we don't. We don't. The health insurance is no good. The healthcare system, everything. And it shows that other countries are doing it better. Why don't we look at the top countries and see what they're doing? I mean, look what we're doing here. We're listening to insurance companies, and they're dictating what the bill should be. And when you do that, it doesn't benefit the people. It benefits who? Those who are getting paid off by it and the insurance companies. This is why we're having a problem. Because if it's something that great, everyone would be getting it. Even those in government. And when Obamacare came out, if you remember, everyone was exempt from it. Why? That just tells you the entire story of healthcare, of the health insurance, of everything. You don't need anything else to know if it's good or bad. That right there, well, that's it. Now, it looks like Susan Rice was supposed to testify in front of the Senate. And this was about the unmasking of certain individuals, and it looks like Rice canceled her testimony. She decided not to do it. Now, there are rumors that this has to be rescheduled because the Senate panel wasn't ready and they need to set it at a different time. But again, we will know right off the bat if this is true or not. But it comes right on the heels of Glenn Simpson canceling his testimony. And you have to remember, he is the co-founder, he's the one who co-founded the opposition research firm Fusion GPS, which was responsible for the dossier on Trump, which was debunked and shown to be completely fake, phony, and false. Now, Simpson's cancellation in front of the Senate Intel Committee appearance followed the revelations that two Fusion GPS associates were intimately involved in a June 26 sit-down with Trump Jr., the Russian lawyer, and 6 other people. A meeting which has the appearance of a political setup, meant to basically entrap or ensnare the Trump team. But we need to look at something very interesting. Trump Jr.'s meeting equals not a felony. It wasn't really a felony. Someone had information. He wanted to hear the information to see what they had, and that was it. It had nothing to do with governments or anything like that. It was just a lawyer who wanted to reveal something, which, again, nothing was revealed. Susan Rice unmasking, well, actually, that's a felony. So we need to understand what is going on here. And if we look at Susan Rice right now, we need to understand that she has become a multimillionaire. And a lot of these government officials, they've become multimillionaires while they were in government. Now, she was on a salary of $172,000. And after she finished her time in government, her net worth is $50 million. Now you know why none of these individuals want to leave. Because they make a lot of money. They come in, they have no money whatsoever, and they become very, very wealthy in government. And I'm sure the Founding Fathers, they definitely did not want this way. And once again, where are they making these millions and millions of dollars? Well, central bank, corporate interests, foreign entities. And this is why they're not working for the people. So here we are. We'll see if she actually testifies, or maybe she's going to plead the fifth if she's subpoenaed, and maybe she'll ask for Congress to get a grand jury, which will take years and years and years and push it out. But we'll have to see how this all plays out. Now, what we're seeing is that there was this huge drop-off in the number of illegal border crossers. These are not immigrants that are coming in through the proper channels. These are people who are trying to jump over the border and coming to the United States. Now remember, under Obama, as soon as they jumped over, they were shipped off into these sanctuary cities. Now, the National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd said this is unbelievable, that everything has dropped almost in half, 53% decrease in apprehensions at the southwest border compared to last year. And the only reason this is happening is because they're enforcing the law. That's all you had to do. Because if you take each individual and you put them on a bus and you send them off to the sanctuary city, of course no one's going to be sent back because you're sending them the opposite way. If you follow the law, and anyone that crosses illegally, remember there's a difference between an immigrant and an illegal immigrant, and an illegal border crossing, and you send them back, guess what? You cut down on the number of illegals entering the country. It's that simple. Now, Trump is pushing the war on pedophiles, and it looks like there's a lot of different pieces of legislation that are being passed. H.R. 2664, Enhancing Detection of Human Trafficking Act. This is going to direct the Secretary of Labor to train certain Department of Labor personnel on how to effectively detect and assist law enforcement in preventing human trafficking during the course of their primary roles and responsibilities. We see other laws like H.R. 2480, Empowering Law Enforcement to Fight Sex Trafficking Demand Act. Now, this is going to amend the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1968. to include an additional permissible use of amounts provided as grants under the Burn-JAG program and other purposes. And we can see there's many different things going on here, like the H.R. 2200, the Frederick Douglass Trafficking Victims Prevention and Protection Reauthorization Act of 2017 to reauthorize the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000. So Title II within the H.R. 2200 looks especially tantalizing as it involves the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury to wage this war on foreign fronts. And we can see there's many different pieces of legislation that are being passed right now to stop these human trafficking and to crack down on these pedo rings. So we'll have to see how this plays out and what direction this actually goes. Now, we see that the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff General Paul Selva, he was testifying in front of Congress, and it looks like he's out there saying, listen, North Korea has no ability to accurately strike the United States. And what they're really saying, because we know this from Russia, we know this from South Korea, their intelligence agency, that North Korea never fired a ballistic missile. And now the United States is out there saying, yeah, they really don't have the technology, they don't have the ability, and they're saying they really don't have the means of actually directing the missile and hitting the United States. What they're really saying is this wasn't a ballistic missile. The corporate media lied. It was completely fake. And now they're telling us that, yeah, they really don't have the technology as of yet. Now remember, this was being pushed out there to try to get us into war. This was the whole point. They wanted Trump. They wanted the Congress. They wanted the people to do something. And again, nothing was done. We see out in Turkey, well, Turkey has agreed to a $2.5 billion deal to acquire the S-400 missile system. And it looks like Turkey now is moving closer and closer to Russia. They're using Russian technology. And we need to remember, the S-400, it is capable of intercepting all types of modern air weaponry, including the fifth-generation warplanes, as well as ballistic and cruise missiles at a maximum range of around 250 miles or so. And remember, Turkey was going to use the Patriot missile system. It was deployed temporarily in Turkey, and now they're switching over and using Russian missile systems. And I think what's going to happen eventually is that Russia will be able to use most likely maybe the Incirlik air base in Turkey as they get closer and closer as the pipeline is completed. And we can see there are deals being worked out between Turkey and Russia, and the United States, the deep state, they're being left out in the cold. Now we see out in Syria, well, the Islamic State and the moderate rebels, the other terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, Al-Sham, they are now being surrounded. We understand that Iraq and Syria, they've taken over the border in the south. We understand that in Lebanon now, the Lebanese army, their military, they're going to be working with Syria to take control of their borders. And there are some Islamic State terrorists that are in the mountainous areas. They're going to be going after those individuals. But Lebanon and Syria, they're going to be controlling the borders there. Turkey controls the borders up north. We see that Iraq is controlling the border down south, and then we have Israel and Jordan, that area which borders Syria. And we can see right now that the terrorist groups, they're not going to be able to move back and forth. They're really done for at this point. Now we see that the moderate rebels, well, they're not going to abide by the ceasefire. They denounced the U.S.-backed U.S.-Russia-backed ceasefire. They're saying we're not going along with it. And once again, we know that a ceasefire only works if all sides agree to it. But I think at this point, the moderate rebels and the rest of the terrorist groups, they are dwindling in numbers. And I think at this point, it really doesn't matter. And we can see that the U.S., the deep state, they're not really concerned with these groups anymore because they're pushing their agenda with the Kurds, where Russia right now is using Turkey to keep this from happening in Syria. So we can see both sides are planning certain things. And once again, we can see the deep state, well, they are definitely losing ground. And they are, I think they're almost done for at this point. Now, Russia was out there, and Sergei Lavrov, he was responding to Benjamin Netanyahu, where Israel is feeling that they're left out of the ceasefire. They don't agree to it. And Lavrov is saying, listen, the U.S. and Russia both agree that Israel has no real argument to make against the ceasefire and accompanying the de-escalation zone. That is why it would be more reasonable for Tel Aviv not to come down on the already reached agreement between Russia and the U.S., but instead find ways how to live with it and reap benefits from victory over the Islamic State, which benefit all countries of the region. And really what Lavrov is saying is tough. This is happening. There's nothing you can do. You're not a part of this. We see the deconfliction channel that has been opened once again between Russia and the U.S., and they're talking to each other to make sure that, they don't hit each other's planes or hit the troops. So it looks like communication is back up and running, and we can see at this point that the entire mission, and I'm not talking about the deep state, I'm not talking the rogue part of the Pentagon, the deep state that's trying to still reach their goal. I'm talking about the U.S. and the other parts where they're working with Russia right now to make sure that there are no problems in Syria. And if you look, you can see all of a sudden, all these countries, the U.S., they're able to go after the Islamic State. They're able to defeat the Islamic State, and it's really not that difficult. It was never difficult. The only reason it was difficult, it was because Obama was directing the military of where to strike. They were never hitting the Islamic State. They were making it easier for the Islamic State to move forward and to progress towards Damascus to get rid of Assad. And we see right now, if you actually go after the terrorists, you can defeat them. And Russia has proved this because, as we've seen, Russia went after the terrorist groups, and all of a sudden their numbers started to drop. Their oil convoys started to disappear. And we see that everything started to reverse itself. And once again, we can see that the U.S., the deep state, they were never doing what they were telling the American people. Now, does that mean the deep state is done? No. Because we're getting word from GCHQ, and they are saying that hackers have likely compromised UK energy sector targets. And they're saying, yes, we have information that the energy sector is compromised. Now, the warning comes at the same time as an anonymously sourced report, The Times, stating that the suspected Russian military hacker sent emails designed to trick engineers at an Irish energy organization. At the end of June, the U.S. government warned businesses of hackers targeting nuclear and energy firms as well. And we can see that the FBI is warning about this, the CIA is warning about this, GCHQ is warning about this, and this tells me that all of these warnings, especially coming out of the corporate media, they're trying to telegraph what they're going to do. And I'll go back to 2003, where we had that power outage on the East Coast. I believe that was a test to see if they're able to bring down the system and how easy it would be to bring it down, then bring it up, and make it look like some type of an attack, some type of cyber attack. And once again, if they do something like, if they resort to something like this because they have nothing left, and once you back an animal into a corner, they come out with their claws, that they're going to use some type of an event. And we can see there's more and more of these things coming out, and they're reporting on more and more of these things. Now, the Pentagon, they came out with a new Pentagon study, and they have concluded that the U.S.-backed international order established after World War II is fraying and may even be collapsing right now, leading the United States to lose its position of primacy in world affairs. Now, the solution proposed to protect U.S. power in this new post-primacy environment is to have, you guessed it, more surveillance, more propaganda, strategic manipulation of perceptions, and more military expansionism. Now, the document concludes that the world has entered a fundamentally new phase of transformation in which the U.S. power is in decline. International order is unraveling, and the authority of governments everywhere is crumbling. Now, we've talked about this before. When you push people to the brink, they will then turn on governments. We've seen this throughout history. And the Pentagon is now seeing this. They're realizing, yeah, this is actually happening right now. And we can see right now that a lot of countries, especially here in the United States, people now are looking at the situation and saying, yeah, governments are not our friends. They've been spying on us, they've been manipulating us, and they've been trying to control us. Now, the report was based on a year-long intensive research process involving consultation with key agencies across the Department of Defense and U.S. Army, calls for the U.S. government to invest in more of their surveillance, better propaganda, and it looks like this is what happens when you have a dying empire. They want to spy on the people more, they want more control, they try more propaganda. Now, while the United States remains a global political, economic, and military giant, it no longer enjoys an unassailable position versus state competitors. It's not just U.S. power that is in decline. The U.S. Army War College study concludes that all states and traditional political authority structures are under increasing pressure from many outside forces. The fracturing of the post-Cold War global system is accompanied by the internal fraying in the political, social, and economic fabric of practically all states. The document hints that such populist civil unrest is likely to become prominent in Western homelands, including inside the United States. The U.S. homeland is flagged up as being especially vulnerable to the breakdown of traditional authority structures. And we've been talking about this for a very long time because what they're really saying is we're heading towards this period of a complete breakdown and the empire is collapsing. And as the economic system collapses, the empire collapses, we will see rioting. Who knows how long this will go on? People will be very angry. And we can see we're heading in this direction. And this report, which we've been looking at right now, confirms where we are headed. And we can see that they're very worried about this. And of course, they're going to increase spying. They're going to increase the propaganda, which we've been seeing, because they don't want all of this control to go away. They like this control. And we're headed to a period of time that is going to be scary. It's going to be horrific. And a lot of people are not going to be prepared for this. And we can see that other individuals, other institutions, other government structures, other bankers, other entities, they are getting prepared for this because the insiders always know what's going on. It's the rest of the people that normally don't know. And they can't control everything. So you're going to see many things occur during this period. And I think this period is much closer than many people think. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.